Hey guys, it's good to have you back here at the Bartender Hideout. I'm happy that you guys made it back for another episode. We are getting into episode number 8 today, which is going to be the Manhattan. The Manhattan is one of those classics that actually made it pretty far up the list, and I'm happy that it did, and I'm also going to tell you why I think that it deserves the spot that it's in right now. Yeah, as usual, I'm going to get into the history a little bit first. Then I'm going to show you how to make the drink. And lastly, I'm obviously going to be tasting it and giving you some tasting notes on what I think of the cocktail. But yeah, we are going to be looking at the Drinks International top 50 most popular cocktails as of 2020. If you want to read along with the list for the next coming week, make sure to check it in the description below because I have the link posted there. But yeah, let's get into the history. Okay, so let's take you guys back to 1880, or at least around the 1880s, where the first written mention got made in the Sunday Morning Herald, which was published by the city of New York. This was actually in 1882. Then 2 years later, it got made official basically in this cocktail book called The Modern Bartender's Guide. There it was published with the name that we now know, and also the ingredients that we now know, that I obviously will be getting into a little bit later. But yeah, after that, it kind of, as usual, I feel like I keep saying this as well, it kind of gets hazy. We kind of lose it gets lost in time, where this recipe officially comes from, who made it up. Supposedly it was Dr. Ian Marshall, and this was in the early 1880s, hence why it got first written in 1882. He supposedly made this drink for Lady Randolph Churchill, which was the mother of the well-known Winston Churchill. He ended up making this drink at a party in the Manhattan Club in New York as well, so that's why the Manhattan derives its name from. But this is also a little bit seen as a myth in a way, because if we backtrack all the way to this time and we check her alibi as maybe as we can see it, she was actually, at the time, she was pregnant and she was living in the UK, so that makes it a lot of bogus probably. So yeah, and there is no real significant origin stories after that. So this kind of maybe allures a little bit about the mystery of the Manhattan. I mean, it's a shame there is no real origin story, but also it makes it special kind of in a way, because so far I haven't found any cocktail that doesn't have an origin story really. So yeah, but after that, I think since we're done with the history, I think it's time to start making this drink. Who's ready to have a drink? I know I am. Yeah, so let's start making this Manhattan. We are going to be starting with our main ingredients, and that is again going to be a whiskey. I ended up choosing a rye whiskey since that's normally officially in the recipes anyway. You can also use a bourbon, but that just makes it a little bit sweeter, because normally bourbon is a little bit more sweeter. This one has a little bit more of a punch to it, so I think it suits better in the cocktail that we're making right now. So yeah, we're going to be using 2 ounces of the Bullet rye whiskey. You can obviously use any rye whiskey, just whatever you have on hand. But I would prefer or recommend to use a rye whiskey, because I think that's just a little better. Then again, I have our Antica Formula, which is a sweet vermouth. Again, you can use any sweet vermouth you like. I just tend to use the things that I like flavor-wise, and which would make it, in my mind, a good cocktail at least. So we are gonna be using an ounce of the sweet vermouth, or 30 mils for whichever system you end up using. And then lastly, again, this is only a 3 ingredient cocktail, so the classics tend to do the best as long as they're made in a good fashion, I guess. And again, we're going to be using the Angostura bitters. and we will be using 2 dashes of that. So let's add that. There we go. 2 dashes of Angostura. And that is the groundwork of our cocktail done already. Let's also make sure that we cool the glass. Put some ice in there, make sure it gets nice and cool. And then it's also time to put ice in our mixing glass, since we will be diluting this drink, to make sure that all the flavors kind of bind in a good way and that we actually have a really good tasting drink. So we give it a good stir. And if you want to know if your cocktail is good once you're stirring it, just make sure you dab a little on your hand, give it a taste, and that gives you a good idea of if you have to stir a little bit longer or not, or if your cocktail is ready to go. So we're almost there. I'm just going to be stirring a little bit more, and I think that should be pretty much it. Get rid of that, and we are going to be throwing the ice out so we have a nice and cool glass. And I have my julep strainer. Pour that one out. Go. And then we'll just. And then we are only going to be needing our garnish, which I have right here. I'm going to be using Amarena cherries. You can use whatever cherries you have around, or you just not garnish it at all if you want. But I tend to use the Amarena cherries and have like a nice fancy stick that I'm going to put 2 of these on. And there we go. There is your Manhattan. Okay, so let's try this one out. Yeah, as you guys might know by now, I'm a big fan of whiskey drinks already anyway. I like this. It's not one of those drinks that you want to be drinking all night. At least I shouldn't be doing that, because then I'd be under the table after like 4 or 5 of them. But this is a good one if you want to have like a nice and easy night, have 1 or 2 of these, just chill, just be sipping on them. Really nice. The sweet vermouth just works really well in this, because it just gives it a little bit of that sweetness that you're otherwise missing if you don't have the whiskey there, or if you have just solely the whiskey. And also the bitters, just give it that little bit of extra like herbal kind of hints that we are really looking for, or like that I'd really like in a good balanced cocktail, which this is. Again, yeah, we're still in the top 10, so I think anything considered the top 10 of classic cocktails or good cocktails are just really great cocktails in this case. And the Manhattan is no other. I wouldn't say it's my favorite one, but it's definitely up there. I think it's a really nice cocktail, so make sure to make this one at home if you want. If you feel like having a drink now, make sure to grab some drinks, grab some bottles, start mixing. Also, if you want to learn more about next recipes that we are going to be addressing, make sure to check out the description below to check out what we're going to be addressing next week. And yeah, apart from that, make sure to drop a like for us, leave a comment if you like what we are doing. Make sure to leave a comment actually on what your favorite drink is of the list. That'd be highly appreciated. And apart from that, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want us to be back here next week for a new episode. But yeah, for now, see you guys.